Hey, welcome to another Studio Takes. I'm Dane Scott, and along with Pocket Frog here.
All dressed up in Fiverr green.
Looking dapper today, my man. Today we're going to find out about the person who does the voice of Pocket Frog.
He's the dummy. I'm the one pulling the strings.
Well, we'll see how that all works out.
It's all in the wrist, man.
And it's coming up next. In just seconds here, the voice of Pocket Frog is going to be with me. Right now, let me remind you that if you would like to develop your own voice, that's something I can help with. Go to thegigdoctor.com, click on coaching, and I'll be happy to bring you along. Maybe you're just getting started. Maybe you've been at this for a while or even for a long while, but you'd just like to get some more perspective. Maybe set a trajectory for a new demo or for a new direction that you'd like to go with your voiceover, with your marketing. Contact me, and let's get together. You can get all the information at thegigdoctor.com, and there is a link there called coaching. Well, guess who's in the house? There he is right there. There's a good-looking guy. That is... Now, you're going to have to tell me which name you want to go by here. This is my big problem right now.
Let's go with the branding.
Okay.
I'm Jonny Unitus.
You know, I followed your football career with great interest over the years. And so to finally meet you and to realize that you're so much younger than I would have expected you to be at this stage is...
Drank from the fountain of youth.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean... This dude, his name isn't really Jonny Unitus. Let's just start with that. All right. But you can't choose a better name than that. I mean, you know, he's a hero. That guy was an action hero. So we're talking the football player for those who are young or who are too young to remember or know about that. But at any rate.
Should be most of my audience.
What's that?
That'd be most of my audience.
Yeah, there you go. Right, exactly. So how did you end up with that? I mean, why did you choose that name?
So, long story short, a good friend of mine used to always come up with new nicknames for me. My last name is Horn, so he'd call me Hornet, J Horn, Johnny O, Johnny U. Like, he'd make up new names for me, like, on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And one day, he was a huge football fan, and he called me Jonny Unitus. Mm-hmm. I was like, I kind of like that. You know, and I wasn't familiar with the football player at the time. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, in time, I kind of liked that the most out of the nicknames he called me, and I kind of made it where with my friends I was always the one who would get everybody together. We'd have like friendly parties, or we're going on an adventure, we're hopping in my car, and I always felt like I was the guy who would unite everybody.
Us. Yeah, there
so
you go.
I said, okay, Johnny, unite us. All right, that's how I'm going to interpret it for me. And then when I decided to take voice acting seriously, I was like, I don't necessarily want to use my regular name because people always pronounce my last name wrong deliberately. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I hear you. So I was like, you know what? Let me go with this nickname my friend called, and if it doesn't work out, then it wasn't me that failed, and if it does work out, then it's not me that people will be calling. You know, so.
Well, you mentioned that there was a point where there was a juncture where you said, I think I'm going to give this a try, or I think I'm going to kind of dive into this, get my feet wet. Yes. How did that happen?
I always had an interest in storytelling, and I've always, without realizing it, been preparing for this industry without knowing that was where I was going. And when I used to be a software developer. That's what I went to school for. And after a period of time, I worked with a small company, and things just didn't work out there, and they let me go. And that was kind of a tipping point where it was like, you have to decide what you want to do with your life, John. And I had to assess my skill set. I had to assess what I wanted out of an occupation and where I wanted to go. And I knew that, one, I was already proficient at reading publicly and performing from that perspective. And I've always, like I said, had an interest in storytelling. So I was like, you know what if I read audiobooks out of the blue? I was just like, you know what, that'd be kind of cool. I could do it from home.
How long ago was that?
The idea started in my head about 3 years ago now.
Okay.
The idea. And then after I got let go, it was kind of like, you either have to commit to this 100% or find something to do in the meantime. And at the time, as you know, like starting out in the voiceover industry, even though it's easier to do now than it was 20 years ago or so, there was no, you're not going to get paid right away. Like there's no way that unless you have professional training and you already know what you're doing, you're not going to be able to instantly drop in and be able to pay all your bills. So I had to humble myself and go back to the previous job I had while I was still in college, which was working in a warehouse. But doing that, I worked in the warehouse 3 days a week for 12-hour shifts, which gave me the time I needed to cultivate my skills, to get training, to learn more of the technical side, and learn more about the voice acting side, not just being a narrator.
There are certain things you just got to go through. You can't just instantly step in. You got to develop your skills. You got to gear yourself up. It's all a part of the deal. And then once you got rolling, you know, some of the first work was audiobooks. Did it turn out to be that?
Yes. So that's what happened. I had to buy a new computer because the company laptop I had got taken away. So I saved up for that. I saved up for like a USB AT2020. And I was some audiobook I listened to said that would be okay to start with. So I said, okay, buy the USB AT2020, and then started auditioning on ACX for free. This is like the end of 2019, and I had like a free Voices 123 account. That was it. Didn't know that they wouldn't send you auditions unless you paid. So then 2020 started, and I said, look, I can't be working in this warehouse and being an Uber driver trying to get money on the side and trying to do voice acting. I had too many things trying to do at the same time. So I said, okay, forget Uber, forget all that other stuff. I'm going to focus on this reading audiobooks. And so I started auditioning more regularly, booked my first book in March of 2020, and the rest is history. Next thing you know, I go from book to book, and then I was like, okay, I want to work less and get paid more. So then I started looking into commercials and other things like that, and just kept trying to grow the business.
So you started expanding into other platforms, is what you're telling me. Yeah, because you're not going to get a lot of commercials on ACX. So
you're going to get zero.
you obviously you went on to Fiverr because we talk about Fiverr. You're in our groups. What other platforms have you been using effectively?
I don't know about effectively, but I've used I've used, as far as pay-to-plays go, I have accounts on Voice123, Voices.com. I before I knew any better, I went on the dreaded Voice Bunny. And so, but I would say Fiverr by far has been the most effective platform in growing a body of business and getting continual work.
What do you like best? What's the most fun for you?
As far as voice acting?
Yeah, the style, the kinds of voiceovers.
Oh, I actually do favor audiobooks.
Okay.
Because I like being able to sit down and enjoy the story that I'm telling with someone.
You know, that is an interesting comment, isn't it? Because when I sit down to do an audiobook, for me it's like, okay, here we go.
Gotta get ready.
I gotta wrap out another hour of this thing, you know. Yeah. So if you don't come into it with the right attitude, an audiobook can just seem like work.
Yes.
But you know, if you can get into the story, if you can get as involved in the story as you want your listeners to be involved in it, suddenly it becomes an adventure. And I think that really is kind of the key to doing all voiceover work. You know, it really applies here because you know it's so easy for you to get bogged down doing a long form. But you know, anywhere that we can apply our interest, our own personal interest to it, envision what we're talking about, make it something real for ourselves, it's going to be so much more real for the person. And the fact that you have kind of an inclination toward characters seems to lend itself well to the audiobook thing too, right? So tell me a little more about the character side.
Yeah. So character, I find actually to be personally be the most challenging because sometimes you find a character that you can just slide right into. Like when we were creating Pocket Frog, it was kind of like your brainchild, and the way we put it together just was kind of like just me bringing out the inner self.
Yep.
You know? So that felt very natural. Or I play a character called Craig on a YouTube show called Craig and Benji Rewind. And the character's based off a real person that I watch on a regular basis. So for me, that character comes naturally.
Sure.
But I would say I'm not an expert in character at all. I just enjoy playing, and that's kind of like, for me, the key.
If anybody has a chance to watch the videos that Johnny's put out there, you know, when he's doing these character voices, it is entertaining. I mean, he puts his whole body into it. I mean, his face gets so expressive, and I think maybe isn't that kind of the secret of characterizations is total abandon. You know, if you watch like the guy that did Fred Flintstone, you know, you watch when he was doing the voicing and the way his face just lit up and all of the gesturing and the motion, and, you know, that's really kind of a big part of it, isn't it?
Yes, I would agree. The one of the coaches I had, because that was one of the areas I wanted to get coaching in the most, was he said you're too programmed. He said take out a piece of paper. I said, okay. He said, write this down. He said, Johnny needs to play.
I like that. I like it a lot.
I keep it on my desk as a reminder, like, to just have fun, to get into the don't worry about what you look like. That's the coolest thing about voice acting. Like, on-screen actors, if they're playing, they do have to look a certain way. They have to be on cue, be in a certain spot. The only thing I need to do is make sure I'm in front of the microphone. Yep. Everything else, my hands be moving around, my face is all kinds of crazy, and I just have a good time.
Well, it's fun to watch you. I can say that, and you know, the fact that you not only have become uninhibited enough to be able to do that when there's nobody seeing, but also then to be able to turn on the camera and do it. You know, that's taking it to a whole new level. Well, listen, ma'am, I got to keep these things kind of short because they're going to be both podcasts and YouTubes. Otherwise, I mean, you and I could probably talk for hours here. This is really fun. I'm sure we're going to be in touch a lot, and maybe we can get you on as a guest again. Don't hang up when we're done here, because I want to talk to you about some other guest possibilities and get some ideas from you. Okay. But just want to thank Jonny Unitus for doing a great job of being our very first guest on Studio Takes, Mr. Pocket Frog himself. And be sure to in the comments today, maybe you have some ideas about people who would be good guests. So ask our watchers and our listeners to also comment. Tell us about that. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Click the button. Click the heart. No, not the heart. It's the bell. Yeah, smash the bell. Hit the subscribe. And be a part of things going forward. Yeah, thumbs up. Thumbs up. Thank you, Johnny. And I'm Dane Scott for Studio Takes. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You give me a call.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, I think.
Hello, cutie pie.
Until I heard the voice, I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life.
Goodbye.